The first thing I heard that morning was my boss laughing. Not a friendly laugh. A sharp one. The kind that cuts through a room. "You need to understand something, Mia," he said, leaning back in his chair. "You're replaceable. Everyone here is." The room went quiet, but no one corrected him. Not HR. Not my teammates. Not even the client manager sitting across the table. I felt my face go warm, but I stayed still. I had learned long ago that reacting too fast gives people power over you. Then he slid a new contract toward me and said I would train my replacement immediately. What he didn't know was that the biggest client in the company had already requested a private meeting with me later that same day. And they had made one thing very clear. They didn't trust anyone else in the building but me. And that meeting was in less than 3 hours. I didn't say a word after that meeting ended. I just picked up the contract, nodded once, and walked back to my desk like nothing had happened. But inside, my mind was already moving fast. I worked as a client operations lead at Northbridge Solutions. On paper, my job looked simple: manage accounts, fix issues, keep clients happy. But in reality, I was the only reason half of our biggest contracts didn't collapse. The biggest one was Harrow and Finch Group. A global logistics client that brought in almost 40% of our revenue. And that was the client who had asked to meet me privately today. Not my boss. Not my team lead. Me. At 2 p.m., I was scheduled to join a secure video call with their executive board. They said it was routine feedback. But the tone of their emails told a different story. Short messages. Quick replies. No warmth. As I opened my laptop, I noticed something strange. 3 senior managers were already watching my screen activity through shared access logs. That had never happened before. Something was already going wrong, and I hadn't even joined the call yet. At 1:58 p.m., 2 minutes before the client call, my phone buzzed. It was my boss again. "Before you go in," he said over a voice message, "remember your role. You support decisions, you don't question them." I stared at the message for a second, then locked my phone. That was the problem. I had been supporting decisions for 3 years while fixing the mistakes behind them in silence. At exactly 2 p.m., I joined the call. 7 people were on the line from Harrow and Finch. I recognized their legal head, operations director, and 2 board advisors. That was not normal for a routine feedback meeting. A woman with sharp eyes leaned forward first. "Mia," she said, "we asked for you specifically. Not your manager. Not your team." I felt my stomach tighten. Then she placed a folder in front of her camera. "We've been reviewing system logs," she continued. "And something doesn't add up." Behind her, someone slid another document closer to the camera. My boss's name was on it. And suddenly, I understood, this wasn't feedback. This was an investigation. I kept my voice steady. "What exactly are you referring to?" The legal head didn't answer right away. She slid another document closer to the camera. "This," she said. "Unauthorized changes in your account systems over the past 6 months." My chest tightened, but I didn't move. I knew those changes. They weren't unauthorized. They were emergency fixes I made when systems broke after hours, fixes I was told never to document publicly. Because it made the team look unstable. The operations director spoke next. "We asked your company for explanation. Your manager said you approved everything." That was a lie. I felt something cold settle in my stomach, but I still stayed calm. "I never approved any undocumented changes outside escalation protocol," I said carefully. Silence filled the call. Then the legal head leaned back. "That's interesting," she said. "Because we have emails that suggest otherwise." My eyes dropped to the attachment she just sent. It was forwarded messages, with my name signed at the bottom. Except, the signature wasn't mine. And that was the moment I realized this wasn't just a misunderstanding. Someone inside my company had been using my identity. My fingers went cold as I zoomed in on the email. The signature looked like mine. The tone even sounded close. But I knew my own writing. There were small habits no one could copy, short pauses, specific phrases, the way I ended sentences. This wasn't me. I did not send these emails, I said clearly. The room on the call shifted. I could see faces change, confusion, then suspicion. The legal head didn't blink. Then someone inside your company is using your identity. Before I could respond, a new voice joined the call. A man from their IT security team. We traced the login activity, he said. It comes from your internal system. Your department access point. My heart dropped slightly. That meant only one thing. Someone in my company had access to my credentials. Or had been given them. I looked at the screen again and noticed something worse. The timestamps on the fake emails matched the exact nights I had been forced to stay late by my boss for urgent internal work. Work that now suddenly looked like cover for something else. And then the legal head said the sentence that changed everything. We are suspending our contract with your company, effective immediately. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. Suspending the contract didn't just mean loss of business. It meant panic. Harrow and Finch Group was the backbone of Northbridge Solutions. If they walked, others would follow. I need to clarify something, I said quickly. This situation is not coming from me. The legal head held up a hand. We are not accusing you personally yet, Mia. But you are our only consistent point of contact. That sentence hit harder than an accusation. Because it meant I was now the center of the problem. After the call ended, I sat still for a few seconds. My screen reflected my face, calm on the outside, but everything inside shaking loose. Then my phone rang again. My boss. I answered. You did great in that meeting, he said smoothly. Too smoothly. How did you know what happened? I asked. A pause. Then a small laugh. Relax. I'm handling it. Just stick to the script if they contact you again. Something in his tone felt off. Like he already knew more than he was saying. Before I could push further, he added, and Mia, don't go digging where you don't belong. Then he hung up. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't just fixing a client problem. I was inside one. I didn't move for almost a minute after the call ended. Don't go digging where you don't belong. That wasn't advice. That was a warning. I opened my laptop again and checked internal access logs. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for at first. But then I saw it. My account had been accessed at 3:14 a.m. 2 nights ago. From an internal admin terminal. Not mine. I zoomed in further. The login came from the executive floor. My boss's floor. My throat went dry. At that moment, I heard footsteps behind me. Still working late, Mia. It was Daniel, my direct supervisor. He smiled like nothing was wrong. I quickly closed the screen. Yeah, I said. Just going over client notes. He nodded slowly, then placed a folder on my desk. Boss wants you to re-sign this confidentiality update. Today. I opened it. It wasn't just a confidentiality agreement. It included a clause that made me legally responsible for all client communication errors within my department. Even the ones I didn't make. I looked up at him. Did you read this? He shrugged. Doesn't matter. Just sign it. And in that moment, I understood something worse than betrayal. They were preparing to blame me for everything. I didn't sign it. Not immediately. Instead, I asked one simple question. Who wrote this clause? Daniel didn't answer right away. He just tapped the folder lightly like I was wasting his time. Legal team, he said. Don't overthink it, Mia. It's standard protection. But it wasn't standard. I had read enough contracts in my job to know that. This was targeted. After he left, I took a photo of the document and saved it in a hidden folder on my personal drive. Then I checked something else, my HR file. What I saw made my stomach drop again. There was a new internal note added just 1 hour earlier. Employees show signs of communication failure during high-risk client situation. That was not true. I had not failed any communication. I leaned back in my chair, heart beating faster now. Someone was building a case against me in real time. And they were doing it fast. My phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. Check the 2 a.m. server logs. Then ask yourself why your boss was really in the system. No name. No signature. Just that. And suddenly, I had a new question burning in my mind. Who was helping me, and why now? I stared at the message for a long time. Check the 2 a.m. server logs. My first instinct was fear. My second was caution. Because anonymous messages inside a corporate crisis usually meant one of two things, help or trap. Still, I opened the logs. My hands moved faster than my thoughts. There it was again. 2:07 a.m. access. Executive terminal. My account used again. But this time, there was something extra attached, file exports. Large ones. Client communication records. Contract edits. Internal escalation notes. Everything tied to Harrow and Finch Group. Someone wasn't just using my identity. They were extracting data through it. My chest tightened as the pattern formed. Every time I was kept late for urgent fixes, something else was happening behind the scenes. I leaned closer to the screen. And then I saw it. A second hidden admin account had approved every action. The owner name was masked. But the permission trail was not. It pointed upward. Directly to executive access. My boss. My throat went dry. Just then, my phone rang again, this time it was HR. And their first sentence made my stomach sink. We need you to come upstairs immediately. The board is here. I walked upstairs with my heart beating too fast. Every step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the boardroom, the air felt different. Quiet. Sharp. Controlled. Like everyone had already decided something before I even entered. 5 people sat around the long table. My boss stood near the screen, arms crossed, smiling like he was waiting for me. That smile made my skin crawl. Mia, he said warmly. Glad you could join us. The board chair looked at me directly. We've reviewed the Harrow and Finch situation. I nodded once. So have I. A small pause followed. Then my boss stepped forward. We've concluded there was a failure in communication and compliance within your handling of client systems. My eyes narrowed slightly. That's not accurate, I said. He sighed like I was being difficult. We have records, Mia. The screen behind him lit up. My name appeared next to system changes I had never approved. But this time, I didn't argue. Because I noticed something else. At the bottom of the log, there was a hidden timestamp trail, showing those changes were approved using his executive credentials. And I realized I wasn't the problem. I was the cover. For a second, I said nothing. The room stayed silent, but I could feel it shifting. The board was waiting for me to defend myself, or break. My boss leaned slightly toward the table. Mia, if you have something to say, now is the time. I looked at him carefully. Then I looked at the board chair. I do, I said calmly. I pulled out my laptop and connected it to the screen. My boss's smile faded just a little. I continued, you should look at the approval chain for those system changes. I opened the logs. Step by step. Clean. Clear. Undeniable. Every single unauthorized action had been executed under executive-level credentials. Not mine. Not Daniel's. His. A low murmur moved through the boardroom. My boss's voice sharpened. Those logs can be misinterpreted. No, I said softly. They can't. I clicked one more file. This one showed something worse. A pattern of repeated access to client data outside working hours, followed by immediate email forwarding to an external address. The board chair leaned forward. Whose email is that? I didn't answer right away. Because I already knew. And so did everyone else. The room went completely still. The email address stayed on the screen like a warning light no one could turn off. It belonged to my boss. The same man who had smiled at me every morning. The same man who told me to stick to the script. The same man who made me re-sign documents I didn't trust. Now he was suddenly very interested in my screen. That is not what it looks like, he said quickly. But no one looked at him anymore. The board chair raised a hand. Mia, step away from the system for a moment. I did. My hands were steady now, but my mind was racing. Because I understood something important. This wasn't just blame shifting. It was damage control at the highest level. One board member spoke quietly. If this is verified, we're looking at serious breach of trust. Another leaned forward. And possible legal exposure. My boss tried to interrupt. This is being taken out of context. But the board chair stopped him. Enough. That one word changed the entire room. Then all eyes turned back to me. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't here as the accused anymore. I was the only witness who could explain everything. The board chair spoke slowly. Mia, we need a full explanation. From the beginning. I took a breath. Not because I was unsure, but because I knew this moment would change everything. I explained the late-night system access. The repeated, urgent fixes. The fake communication logs. The contract manipulation. The hidden approvals. I kept my voice calm, simple, and direct. No emotion. Just facts. As I spoke, I saw faces change across the table. Confusion turned into concern. Concern turned into anger. My boss tried once more. She's misreading technical data. But a board member cut him off. We have IT security here. Let them verify. Two security engineers stepped in immediately and began pulling live audit trails. The room waited. No one spoke. Even my boss stopped smiling now. Minutes passed. Then one of the engineers cleared his throat. It's confirmed, he said. A pause. All actions originated from executive credentials tied to Mr. Adrian Cole. The silence that followed was heavier than any shouting. The board chair removed his glasses slowly. Adrian, he said, you will step out of this room. My boss didn't move at first. Then he looked at me. And for the first time, there was no confidence in his eyes. Only panic. Security didn't rush him. They didn't need to. My boss, Adrian, stood very still, like moving would make it worse, which it already was. This is a misunderstanding, he said again, but his voice was thinner now. Less certain. I can explain everything. The board chair shook his head. You will have that chance, but not in this room. Two security officers stepped forward. One gently gestured toward the door. Adrian hesitated. For a brief second, his eyes met mine again. This time, there was no authority in them. Only fear of consequences he thought he would never face. Then he was escorted out. The door closed behind him with a soft click that felt louder than anything he had ever said. No one spoke for a moment. Then the board chair turned to me. Mia, he said carefully, you may have just prevented a major corporate breach. I didn't feel proud yet. I just felt tired. Because I knew something they didn't fully see yet. This wasn't just one person acting alone. And whatever Adrian had done, it had been planned carefully. Too carefully. The investigation moved fast after that. Within hours, the board authorized a full audit of every system Adrian had touched. I stayed in the room with security and IT, walking them through what I knew, step by step. But something kept bothering me. The pattern wasn't messy. It was too clean. Someone like Adrian didn't build something that precise alone. There were missing pieces, access routes, backup approvals, timing gaps that didn't make sense for one person. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed in the office with a security analyst and reopened the logs again. And that's when I saw it. A second layer. Not another person logging in. A scheduled automation job. It had been running quietly for months, masked as a system maintenance tool. But its real function was simple. Hide activity during audits. My stomach dropped. Because the creator of that automation tool wasn't Adrian. It was the internal compliance department. The system meant to prevent fraud had been used to cover it. The next morning, the board called an emergency meeting. And for the first time, I wasn't just a witness. I was asked to help rebuild everything from the ground up. And as I looked at the broken system in front of me, I finally understood the truth. I hadn't just been called replaceable. I had been the only thing holding it all together. And now, they couldn't replace what they never truly understood.